I asked some of my coworkers to pray for me while I tried to figure out what topic the sermon should address. And one of my coworkers suggested that the topic be hope. She stated that 2020 was so bad, we all need more hope. What is the definition of hope? I think it's one of those words that has several different meanings, and I think that what the world means by it has changed over time. Words do change over time. When I was a kid, the word thongs was used for the kind of sandal that people now only refer to as flip-flops. When my nephew was getting ready to go to college, my brother-in-law took him shopping and said, "You should get some thongs." My nephew responded with, "Dad, we need to talk about something else." My brother-in-law kept going. "They're really comfortable. You can wear them in the shower. I used to wear them all the time. Your mom used to wear them all the time. We still wear them sometimes." My poor nephew was really ready for the earth to open up and swallow him whole. He's like, "Dad." My brother-in-law finally realized that my nephew thought he was talking about underwear instead of shoes. Words change. If you look it up in the dictionary, you'll find, for the word hope, you'll find expectation, trust, or desire as synonyms. And I think these words are what most people think of when they use the word hope, but some might also only think of wish or wishful thinking. But the biblical definition, I believe, would be closer to expect with confidence. So what or who do you put your hope in? The government? Education? Money or possessions? Your job? Your spouse, if you have one? Your family? Yourself? All of these things can and will at some point fail you. There is only one who will never fail. In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, the nation of Judah is surrounded by enemies. They are completely outnumbered. King Jehoshaphat calls the people together and prays. In verse 12, the prayer ends with, "We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you." When I read that, I thought, so many are feeling just like that right now, and that's how we need to react. We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. They acknowledged God was their source of hope. He always answers our prayers, not necessarily in the way we expect or think he should, but he always answers them in the manner that is ultimately best for us. Don't ever lose sight of that. If you read the rest of 2 Chronicles 20, you'll see that God replied to their prayer, starting with, "Do not fear or be dismayed." Then he went on to explain how he would deal with the multitude of Judah's enemies. And Judah responded with worship and praise, even before the actual battle began. And if the Bible was translated as a Southern translation, I really think that it would be something like, "And then God said, 'Here, hold my sweet tea and watch this.'" Because Judah's enemies destroyed themselves, while Judah just watched. But Judah knew the one who would never fail, the only source of true hope. Hope and faith are very closely related. In fact, when I looked up our scripture reading, Romans 5, 1 through 5, in my dad's Bible, he had underlined justified by faith, and then written beside it, the foundation of hope. Our faith in Jesus leads to our hope in him. Martha, of Mary and Martha, understood and demonstrated this hope. John 11 gives us the account of Lazarus. Lazarus had been really sick. Mary and Martha sent for Jesus. Then Jesus waited 2 days before he began his journey to Bethany where they lived. By the time he got there, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. Yet Martha went out to greet Jesus. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. In our English translations anyway, this greeting almost sounds like an accusation until she goes on to say, even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Quite a proclamation of faith and hope. I've read from different commentaries that in this passage, Martha is the only one who is showing the faith and hope in him, but that even she falters. When Jesus commands the tombstone to be removed, Martha reminds him that Lazarus has been dead 4 days and it's going to stink. Maybe that is Martha showing doubt. Or maybe she's suggesting that Jesus needs to remember to take care of the smell too. Regardless, Jesus responds with, if you believe, you will see the glory of God. And then he prayed a prayer of thanksgiving and called to Lazarus to come forth. Martha's hope in Jesus was not in vain because Lazarus got up and came out of the tomb. I have a lot of Christian t-shirts. I used to have one until it wore out that had a note pinned to a cross. The note said, "Gone to see Dad. We're fixing a place for you. Be back soon to pick you up. Love, Jesus." I really liked that shirt because it reminded me of 2 things. First, the obvious message of Jesus has gone to the Father to prepare a place for us, but he will return, and it's because of the blood that was shed on the cross that we have this hope. The second is that the cross itself reminds us that Jesus told us we were to take up our cross and follow him. No matter what our trials are, we have hope in him. We should be living our lives so that others can see this hope in us. 1 Peter 3:13 through 15 says, "And who is there to harm you if you prove zealous for what is good? But even if you should suffer for the sake of righteousness, you are blessed. And do not fear their intimidation, and do not be in dread, but sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, but with gentleness and respect. Always be ready to give an account for the hope that is in you." Are you ready to share that with someone? Are you living your life in a way that people even notice that there's something different in you? That you have hope in Jesus when your circumstances seem hopeless? I know I fall short in this at times, but now and then I do get it right. When I filled in for Dennis before, back at the end of September and the 1st of October, I shared with you the fact that from July of 2019 through June of 2020, I lost 10 friends. By the way, none of them, to my knowledge, was due to COVID. But because all of them were Christians, I know that they're safe. They're in heaven because their hope was in Jesus. And although I miss my friends, and I've shed a lot of tears because I won't be seeing them again here on earth, I've actually had a few people that I've been able to give an account for the hope that I have, because let's face it, 10 is a lot to lose in 1 year. And I've had some people ask me, how can you still have so much joy and thanksgiving when you've lost so many in 1 year? And I've been able to share Jesus with them and explain why I have that hope. I've been able to say, I don't know what to do, Lord, but my eyes are on you. October this year will actually mark the 20th anniversary of my dad's change of address to heaven. I still miss him very much. And there are times that I would like to talk to him and ask him questions about something, but I also know that what he would do is tell me to keep my eyes on Jesus. Study the scripture. The answer is there. I look like my dad, except that I'm a girl, and my eyes are both blue. My dad had one brown eye and one blue one, and my great nephew thinks that means my dad was an alien. My nephew and I think that that would explain a lot. In a way, though, my great nephew is correct. My dad was a Christian, and as Christians, we are in the world, but not of it. The hope that we've been talking about this morning is what makes the difference. I think this is one of the most important lessons that both my parents instilled in me, sometimes without realizing they were doing it. I'm going to end with a story. When I was 5 years old, Daddy took my sister Brenda, who was 11, and I trick-or-treating. Now, this was before anybody thought about Halloween being anything but innocent fun. Meanwhile, Mama and my sister Regina, who was 15, they were making plans for our return. Of course, Daddy had helped Mama come up with this plan in the first place. When we got back to the house, Daddy parked our van halfway down the driveway instead of pulling all the way up to the house. If I had been older than 5, I might have been suspicious, but I was just a kid and I couldn't wait to show my mama all the candy I got. So I jumped out of the van and started running towards the house. When I got halfway there, the garage door flew open and there was Mama, dressed like a witch, leaping around the garage on a broom, while my sister Regina played a scary song on the low notes of the piano. Well, I froze in my tracks, and then I screamed. So loud, I'm sure everyone in the neighborhood heard me. Mama thought, oh no, I actually terrified my child. I need to go comfort her. And then she did the worst thing she could possibly do. She started walking towards me. Well, I turned around and I took one step towards my daddy, who was still standing by the van. And then I jumped. I've never jumped that far in my life, before or since. In fact, I almost shot over my dad's head. But he caught me and he held me. Now, I had such a tight grip around his neck that I almost choked him. So he's holding me with one arm and he's trying to loosen my grip enough with the other one so that he can breathe. Meanwhile, my mom gets to us and she is saying over and over and patting me on the back saying, it's okay, it's just me. Well, the closer she got and the more she touched me, the further up on my dad's head I climbed. I was scared. But eventually we made it back to the house and my mom took her makeup off, and once I saw she was really my mama, I was able to calm down and feel safe once more. I've never, ever forgotten the panic I felt. But it's a story that I have laughed about for most of my life. Over the years, I've started to see a picture of our spiritual lives in this silly prank that did not receive the response Mom and Daddy had planned or expected. You see, we're all headed towards sin. Most of us don't even realize it and actually run to it. Just like I ran to the house to see Mama. At some point, we do realize that we are sinners and headed towards evil. When we reach this understanding, the first thing that we have to do is stop. Stop going towards sin with open arms. But stopping isn't enough. We have to turn around and run away from evil. But even that isn't enough. At some point, you have to take the leap of faith and know that your Father will catch you. He will keep you safe in His arms. This is the hope that we have through Christ.